Everybody, we're here again. Yes, State of the Nation. That's what we call our Friday program, State of the Nation. Atlantic Discourse is Friday. And what do? We talk about issues that affect the country with the largest population of Black people. That's Nigeria. Plenty to discuss. I've always said it. It looks like it's rudderless. That people say that word is strong, is it? I don't think so, but things are not going well. In the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about cattle herdsmen doing all sorts with Christians. In the last 10 years, they've killed more Christians in Nigeria than anywhere in the world. That's the fact. No, I mean, if there's leadership, that kind of thing should not happen. When I was younger, there was Mitacinin in Katsina, in Kano. It's the same recurring problem. So if we have the same problem that we're having from 1979, we're still having it now, more than 40 years down the line, there's a fundamental failure of leadership across board. So this definitely doesn't just have to do with APC or PDP. It's just failure of political leadership in Nigeria. And that makes us feel that the process to which we elect leaders in Nigeria has to be looked at properly, and people that are very erudite and knows about what the problem is, like Professor Patutomi, who a lot of you know, I've always been a guest here, has said the fundamental issue is failure of leadership. And that number two thing that I keep saying is that the Nigerian diaspora contingent have a major role to play. And right now, I have with me a diaspora, a credible one, an erudite one, a man that doesn't speak from both sides of his mouth and knows his onions, and he has earned his epaulet. And here at Atlanta Discourse, we have a flair for those kind of people. That's why today I have as guest Dr. Charles Orbih. Dr. Charles Orbih, welcome to State of the Nation on Atlanta Discourse.
Thank you so much, Ifade. Very glad to be here.
We are excited to have you too. Dr. Charles Orbih, is an engineer. That was his first degree. He has a lot. I'm going to read everything out to you, He has an MBA in technology management, Ph.D. in entrepreneurship and enterprise management. He was even recently appointed the professorial chair for the EBS HIBC College of Entrepreneurship and ICT Innovation, certified Stanford University project manager, Cisco certified white belt and green belt security ninja. You have to be in the IT industry to know what that means. Yeah, they're the defensive people. They kill, when you want to hack or intrusions and what have you. You need to be computer savvy to know that. But he's here for other reasons. He also owns a travel company. So he's a man of so many areas. Now they have NDCFC in collaboration with so many fantastic diaspora, like Professor Green that I spoke to last week, Professor Monday Gold. You're going to hear from him sometime in the future. They're coming together and they form NDCFC. Now, Dr. Charles is going to tell us what this is all about, what they want to do with it, and what's that. So, Doc, over to you. What is this NDCFC all about? Tell people want to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here to talk about another 5-letter acronym, NDCFC, which stands for Nigeria Diaspora Coalition for Change. Nigeria Diaspora Coalition for
Change. Oh, interesting.
I hope that if you don't remember anything at all from this conversation, remember that NDCFC stands for Nigeria Diaspora Coalition for Change. It was launched on the 26th of April, 2025. I'm just one person on the board of directors of NDCFC. NDCFC has its chairman. Notice I said chairman with emphasis on that word, chairman, Professor Denike Grange. She's our chairman. So we call her Madam Chairman.
Okay.
This is a woman, former Minister of Health.
Okay.
Highly respected in both her career, her chosen profession of medical science, because she was a pediatrician, and also in politics, because she's earned her due. So she brings all the experiences that she got from many years of serving our country. We respect her. We adore her. We believe that with somebody like her as our chairman, and with the vision that NDCFC has, you're going to be hearing more and a lot about NDCFC. And in case somebody is wondering, why start a new group now? You have so many groups in the diaspora say, well, they say the fruit never falls far from the tree that produced it. Where, at the end of the day, Nigerian Diaspora Coalition for Change. I'll say, how many political parties do you have in Nigeria? How many churches do you have? So there's nothing wrong with having another group, except that this particular group, NDCFC, Nigerian Diaspora Coalition for Change, is very unique. Unique in the sense that apart from having the type of person we just mentioned with her gravitas as the chairman of the NDCFC, we have quite a few young people. And by young people, I mean young people. These are people who are under 40 and under 50 that are willing to put their time and energy into building this new organization. So we cut across the spectrum of young, not so young, and a little bit on the other side of the age bracket. But these are people who are willing to give what they have learned and what they believe in to redeem, if you will, to redeem our country. Because as the name says, Nigerian Diaspora Coalition for Change, it means that we're not going to do this alone by ourselves. We are going to be working with other groups that already exist because we are looking for a better Nigeria. We are looking for the type of Nigeria that some of us experienced when we were growing up. And that Nigeria that we experienced was the Nigeria that was actually given to the citizens. They care about the citizens. But what we have today, we have a state where some people have said it's a failed state, but we also believe that it's not totally, until the fat lady sings, it's not over until it's over. So we believe that we can salvage. We believe that there's redemption for our country because that is still our dear native land. And so we want to come together as a people. We want to come together as individuals and as groups with NDCFC leading the effort to redeem our country. So we have a very active website that talks about who we are, our mission, our vision, our objectives, and what our plans will look like. I'm sure that during the course of this conversation, we're going to be talking about some of those. But
fantastic.
But NDCFC, simply stated, Nigerian Diaspora Coalition for Change. Chairman, Professor Range. I want to emphasize that. Yeah.
No problem. So, I like what you said. That's why we talk about leadership of the organization. It's incredible people, not tainted, not particularly affiliated and all that. But we've had so many groups like this in the past come from the diaspora, a lot. There's still so many coming up and all that. Now, what is your group doing differently this time around, considering the fact that Nigeria is in very dire state? Agreeably, this is a very critical period in the history of the country. I don't think that's in dispute, and I'm sure you are probably yearning to that clarion call to come help and all that. But what are you doing differently?
Okay. Yes, that's another. Of course, you always ask great questions. That's another great one.
Thank you, sir.
So, what we are doing differently is the fact that we are not going to be going to Abuja to ask for positions. We won't do that. We're not going to be going to Abuja to ask for plots.
You're not going cap your hands to beg for contracts or land.
We are essentially going to be saying the diasporans have a need. The diasporans believe they are members of this, where we have rights as citizens of Nigeria. Right now, we are not being allowed to exercise some of those rights, i.e., ability to vote. That is not a privilege. It is a right. And we want that to be very clear to the powers that be. In fact, I think the recent article that came out of NDCFC, notice, we just launched on the 26th of April. We already have our article out, sounding the alarm that the diasporans are coming. It's not a matter of if and about, but the diasporans are coming. We want to ask for our right. We want our seat at the table. Yes, we know there's a need come, We know there is NIDO, but we are different from NIDO. And we want that to be very, very clear. We are going to have people from NIDO becoming members of NDCFC. Why? Because we all want what is good for Nigeria. We want what is good for our children. So we're going to be both a pressure group and also an advocacy group. These are things we are going to be doing, but I know you got to take baby steps. The reality is that when you look at the caliber of people in NDCFC as we just started, you will know that many of them are battle ready. They have experienced the wear and tear of the different struggles and fights, if you will, literally, not figuratively. We all are aware of what the challenges are or what they could be, but the reality is we believe that we can have a different tactic and a different strategy to dealing with some of these challenges that we've had. And so we believe very strongly, like I said earlier, we have a lot of young people who are committed to the advancement of Nigeria. Then you have some older people who have children and grandchildren. They want a Nigeria that functions for their grandchildren because they don't have the money to send their children abroad, for example. And there are a lot of young Nigerians who are born outside Nigeria who want to come home. And in order for them to come home, they have to come to an environment that's, almost similar to where they are coming from. Otherwise, everybody is going to throw up their hands and say, does it work in Nigeria? But we know that Nigeria can work.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I agree. We all know Nigeria can work. It's like we intentionally don't want it to work. Yeah. I can't remember the gentleman that Professor Patutomi quoted one day. I'll try to remember that the gentleman wrote a book or something. I was saying that the path to success for every nation in the world is not hidden. That everybody knows all nations know how to succeed. There have been a lot of third world countries that have grown out of obscurity to strategic relevance. But there are countries in the world that know what to do and intentionally not doing it. And the guy was very emphatic that Nigeria is one of those countries that knows what to do. They're not even short of the manpower, but it's like intentionally they're not doing it. So that leads me to my next question. Okay. I've mentioned Professor Otomi twice already. He's somebody I'm very fond of, and I have a lot of respect for him. He just came up with a shadow cabinet, and the federal government were already speaking against it, like maybe it was unconstitutional. I mean, I don't know what the government meant because there should be free speech, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of disassociation, which is well enshrined even in the United Nations Human Rights Charter. So my question to you is that your body, the NDCFC, yeah, I got it, Now, are you going to be involved in this kind of thing, having a shadow cabinet, your own minister for health to tackle, the Nigerian minister for health, your own minister for defense? I mean, it's all like you with a background in engineering, cybersecurity, and all that. I'm sure you can take on about 4 of the ministers. You can look at the guy mishandling NEPA, the guy in works, the Minister for Science and Technology, if there is one, I mean, you're a project manager, Cisco Cyber and all that. So are you guys going to be doing that kind of thing? Because we do need those checks and balances, especially when those that have the oversight functions are not really doing what they have to do. Before you know what's happening, it's voice votes on budgets, everything voice vote.
Yeah, in such a cabinet, we may well ask somebody like you to be our communication minister, because you know the area, the field very well, and I think people get afraid of something they don't know. I mean, the unknown is scary. I think the idea of having a shadow cabinet makes the government nervous, only because they don't understand what that means. I think about 3 years or so ago, I when we were working with, when Kingsley Moghalu was running for president, with ADC, African Democratic Congress, I think that's the name of the party. I was working with Kenneth Gandhi. I usually don't like to throw out names, but we were working on this same concept, shadow ministers.
No, I know Kenneth very well.
Okay, so some people will think because you're having a shadow cabinet, you are forming a government in exile. That's not what it is. What it is, in fact, I remember one of the guys, he said he was going home to Nigeria. We said to him, you know what? You should go and introduce yourself to the minister and let them know that you want to partner with them and be their eyes and feet, if you will, outside the country. So you can be exchanging ideas with them on how to make the country a little bit better in this particular space, in education, for example. So a shadow cabinet doesn't mean competing with the government. It means cooperating, in our case, partnership, coalition. Building a coalition between us and the government and say, okay, what you are doing right now doesn't really benefit the people. What if you tried this? What if you tried that? Will it be better? So essentially, we are going to be building a lot of coalition partners, whether with existing groups, whether with new groups that are yet to be formed, with the government, with NITCOM, with whoever is willing. As a GW will say, the coalition of the willing. That's essentially what we are talking about. Some things will be new and dynamic because of the composition of our group, right? We believe our group will be so dynamic that it will essentially we talk about the brightest and the smartest of us in the diaspora. Let us leverage all of that and see how we can use it to effect what is good for our environment, for our state. A lot of things these days, you don't have to recreate them. They're already out there. If you can navigate the internet, you will see a lot of solutions. I mean, why are we not leveraging what is already available, especially the ones what's already in public domain? Why are we not leveraging all of that? I think all of us believe that right now our country, our homeland, is underperforming. See, it's underperforming, and the only people that are happy about what is going on are the people who are benefiting from it. They are happy with the chaos or the dysfunction that is going on because they are benefiting. But for the rest of the people which is probably about 80%, maybe 90% of the people who are not benefiting, they are not happy with what is happening. So I think that the idea of a shadow government, if it's explained to the current government, hopefully they will not be so anxious. They will not think that somebody is forming a government in exile because they want to oppose them. At least the way I know it, the way I understand it, and the way we talk about it is not to oppose government. Again, we want to collaborate. We want to partner. I want to bring about a better environment for our people. And so my sense is, somebody has to explain it very clearly, so that people don't think you are trying to form an opposition government.
Yeah. So, like you said, you mentioned Professor Adenike Grange, who I interviewed last week. Yeah, one of the things she said during our conversation was that the scholars, the educated people, the genuine patriots left politicking for the charlatans. Do you agree with that?
I do.
You do?
I watched the interview.
You did?
Yes. Yeah, I did watch the interview. So, yes.
All right. So, is this an attempt to drive away the charlatan?
No.
Okay, let me not use attempt. Is it an effort? Synonymous words, but is it, an effort to drive away the charlatan from their political misadventure and driving Nigeria into the abyss, so to say?
Yeah. Well, it's not an attempt to drive well, I think it's an attempt. Well, not an attempt. It's a process. It's a mission. Yeah, I think that's it. It's a mission to redefine what is that we are looking for, the better of Nigeria that all of us are looking for. We are essentially, again, we want the diaspora needs to be recognized, not just as people who send money home. Because that's all they see us as, right? They see diasporans as people who just send money home, just get their money and they are happy. No, we don't want a piece of land in Abuja. We don't want a piece of property. We don't want a position in the cabinet. However, if there are people in the diaspora who want positions in the cabinet and we think they will be good ambassadors, I think they'll be good ambassadors for the diaspora, why not? The diasporas are the best people to speak for themselves because they know where it hurts. Take, for example, I'm just going to say, I think I can say this. Right now, the Nigerians in the US are very anxious because of the new laws, the new executive orders, and everything else that is going on. It doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or not. Have you seen somebody from NIDCOM coming to talk to the Nigerians and say, hey, how you guys doing? How are you feeling? What do you think about what is going on? Have you seen anybody from the embassy coming to say, these are my constituents, these are the people I represent, let me go and find out how they are doing, whether they feel the pain of what all the other immigrants are feeling. Have you seen anyone like that? I don't believe, at least I've not seen anyone in my state. There has
not that I've seen too.
Okay.
And I've not heard.
So this is the kind of thing that an NDCFC will be doing. Reach out to the constituents. I say, how are you feeling? What's going on? How's your family doing? So we need people in the assembly that can speak for the diasporans. In other words, we're going to be looking for representatives from the diaspora congregation, whether it's here in North America, whether it's in Asia, whether it's in Europe, to represent us in the National Assembly. So in other words, well, how do they want to accomplish that? Whether by making the diaspora a Zone 7, maybe that would be one option.
The seventh sub-region.
Yeah, exactly. Seventh geopolitical zone. I mean, if we are bringing billions of dollars to the economy, we might as well have a seat at the table so we can let them hear what we are hearing. You remember this incident, I think it was during COVID, when the TIF community was protesting about the killings that were going on in Plateau State. The then Deputy Speaker of the House said, the thieves are non-Nigerians. They're in the diaspora. They don't live here.
Wow.
And that was a deputy speaker.
Wow.
I know that the speaker then, to his credit, Gbajabiamila came and corrected him. No, these people are Nigerians.
Wow.
They may be living in that. So if you have those kind of people representing our interest, you, at least from my body expression, you can see, you know what I'm saying, right? So are we coming to get those people out? That's what's your question earlier. Well, we think that some of them need a little bit of education. They need to know that they are representing people and not their pockets. So I think NDCFC will do a lot of education, get the people to understand that if you get into Congress, you are representing the people. You are there by their grace, not by your own. Yeah, you said the charlatans, you call them? Yeah.
I'm using Professor Grady's words, but
yeah,
so, I think to a very large extent.
And like I said, I agree with her. And even though NDCFC is not a political party, not by any stretch of it, but we believe that we can work together with people who really mean to serve the people. And because people go to Congress to serve their constituents, but that's not what we have in our country.
Interesting. Are you politically affiliated to any party or any presidential candidate?
In Nigeria?
Because you said you look forward to some of your members getting elected into Congress, that's the House of Rep, where some of become governors.
Yes. When I say some of our members, I mean in the diaspora.
That's why I understand. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, for
Yeah.
you to get elected
Yeah.
into office, you must have, I mean, Nigeria doesn't have independent candidates. So that person must run under the banner. So my question, maybe let me rephrase, maybe it'll be easier this way. Will you support your candidate running under any political party? As in, if you have 4 diaspora contesting and all the 4 are running under the 4 different political, parties, you still support them? Or you are directly connected to one particular party? If that's a yes, which one?
Well, 2027 is still a long way out.
It's still a long way out. It's not. The politicking has started.
It's little way,
The
yeah.
president,
Well,
can't you see the government
it's almost
everywhere?
almost 2
Nobody's
years out.
talking. I'm sure after May 29 now, there's nothing, no government work again. Just
with
politicking
the way things are going right now, you and I both know that there's a lot of uncertainty.
I agree.
Well, one of the biggest topics on the ground right now is what are we going to restructure or not? And that is a very fair question. That's something that needs to be addressed. And you
took it out of my mouth, actually. That was going to be my next question, but you can go ahead. I'll still ask a follow-up.
Okay. The proliferation of political parties in Nigeria leaves a lot to be desired. And of course, with all due respect to INEC, I think they have become part of the dysfunction in the political system.
Absolutely.
There is no reason why they should have so many political parties. However, when you really look at it critically, what is going on is a lot of these political parties, the smaller ones in particular, they form parties just as a marketing gimmick. They are really not serious about winning. And what happens is, towards the end, they take money, unfortunately, they get bought out by the bigger parties, and then you see it very close to the election time, you see them declaring their support for one of the bigger parties. So INEC should be, I would say they should be smart enough, educated enough to know that when all these parties are forming, they are really not trying to win. They're not trying to come out and win an election. They are just there just for, again, deceive the people. I think there has to be a limit on the number of registered members of a party before you can credibly say you are a party. Right now, I don't think that is. I don't know if they have those kind of checks in place. I think that once people are able to pay money to register a political party, they can go in and register and say we're a party. Then when you look at how many members do you have per state, maybe not even more than 200 people. So that has to be cleaned up. I don't know what the stipulations are in the Electoral Act. I don't know what it's something we have to look at. So from that perspective, would we support a particular political party? I'm speaking as an individual now. This is not the position of NDCFC. I believe, this is my personal opinion here, I believe that if an individual is a member of a political party, because that's the only way they can run for office, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they will have to be clearly vetted to make sure that even though they are a member of a political party, there are some requirements that NDCFC will have to look at and say, do these people line up with our ideology? Because we have a mission, we have a goal, we have a vision. Are these people going to be able to meet the criteria that we are setting out for what a candidate should look like? For example, you might be a candidate representing, let me say, a PRP, one of the unknown parties, right? So you're not in PR, you're not in Labour, you're not in APC, you're not in PDP. The question becomes, as a member of that other party, is it possible for you to win? Can you win? I mean, that has to be a question that needs to be addressed, right? If you don't win, what will be the ramifications? Are you going to be able to work with a government that wins? With the government that wins, look out to you. And if the answer is yes, would you still be carrying the principles of NDCFC? Actually, in this case, not principles of NDCFC, but the diasporans. Because when it's all said and done, it's how well do you represent the diaspora? Are you going to just be another charlatan, another politician that just comes and, once the goodies are flowing in, they don't care about the people they are supposed to. See, that's the biggest. They don't care about the people they are supposed to represent. That's the biggest issue with what we have today. Once they get into the Congress, they don't even campaign before they get in there. There's no campaign. Nobody comes with a manifesto. Nobody tells you what they're going to be able to do for you. And once you get there, it's a free-for-all looting of the treasury.
Okay, I have about 4 more questions, but
okay.
I was going to ask you about the conference, talking again, discussing the structure of the country and all that. You said a lot about that because I know there's an effort by Chief Emeka Anyaoku and some people. They're working on having
the Patriots.
Sir?
That's the Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots, yeah. They want to have another discussion and all that, And do you subscribe to that? We need to discuss our future. You just said it, but what would be your group's recommendation to a conference right now? Clearly we run a presidential system of government. We have 6 sub-regions. There's a lot of discussion on the concurrent list and all that, devolution of powers and what have you. But what's your group recommendation in all this,
Yes, I think that conference is probably coming up towards the end of this month or sometime next month.
I was even supposed to ask, are you going to take part? Then if you're taking part, what would be your recommendation? That should have been the proper.
Yes, I think that right now from the framework that we saw, we recommend that our group takes part in it. Absolutely.
Okay.
And the reason is because we believe we as a people, we are stronger together. And we are better together. Now, we may all have different ideas on how to run the country, but the only way we can determine how to run the country is when we all come together, put our ideas on the table. Let's weigh them side by side, pros and cons, and the consequences of going one way versus the other. Until we do that, we will continue to go in this cycle of pain. Literally, it's a cycle of pain that we have been going through for the past 12 years, 15 years. And so, a conference like that, apart from getting the people together to really address the issues that concern them, I think it gives everybody a chance to say, or if you will, an opportunity to say, this is what my people think. Let's put the concerns of my people on the table, compare them with the concerns of your people, and concerns them with concerns of person C, person D, person E. You may find out that at the end, they all have common issues, and the issues are very, even though they may seem distinct and unique to them, but when you put all of them together, everybody's probably crying about the same thing. So I think a conference like that makes sense.
Yeah, but you said that with, in my discussion with you in the past and possibly even today, you said our problem is cultural, religious, and tribal affinity. Don't you think it would be fair? I'm just asking. This is not what I'm recommending. But if the problem is tribal and ethnic based, religion based, and all that, wouldn't it be better? Just like in India then, when Pakistan, a more of a Muslim enclave, went or their own way. And I think Bangladesh too came out of India. Because you notice that if Pakistan had not left India at that time, they are fighting again now. There probably have been a civil war, and if they are still not parted, there'll be continuous fighting in that country, India. If Pakistan had not been independent. Now, even though there are countries beside themselves, they are still fighting. So you can imagine the implosion, So now we go to Malay, another Commonwealth. I always give this example. Malay was Singapore, Malaysia, so they're both independent and they're both doing fantastically well. Great leaders, Mahathir Mohamad and Lee Kuan Yew, something kind of leaders Nigeria have never been blessed with. Now we come to Mother Africa. You have Sudan. Now South Sudan is there with the capital in Juba. They have their challenges. There's problem in the north, but if they were also still together, they'll still be fighting. So in the South, there are two issues, two warring groups. In the North, that's the Sudan itself, there are two warring groups. So my point is that if they are not broken apart or gone their separate ways, there'll probably be multifaceted acrimony, brigandage, violence everywhere, just like you have in Nigeria today. Because apart from the cattle herders issue, apart from militant issue, apart from those stealing and mining our gold illegally, apart from the kidnappers, I've counted like three. Apart from robbery, apart from the terrorists, you have about 4 groups. You have the Lakurawa, you have the ISWAP, ISWAP, TISWAP, everything is all wrapped up, That's in the terrorists alone. They now have people, those are religious extremists. You don't have people that are mining the resources, thieves, petty thieves, but they're armed to the teeth, So you now have the religious people too, killing Christians. Not only the cattle herders, but they are also operating on another level. In the East, you have issues between the army and the Masob and all sort of groups. The South has this problem, even though it's a bit on the low key now. It doesn't mean it has been sorted. You understand? And in the Southwest, so what I'm saying is, wouldn't it be better to possibly do it the Indian, the Sudan, or the Malaysian way? Because if in India they are still fighting themselves, Sudan they are still fighting, at least maybe Malaysia and Singapore they are not fighting. Maybe ours would be like that, Or worst case scenario, if we separate, we'll have a border, a well-designed border. There'll be a territorial integrity that can be properly defended. What do you think? I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate.
No,
I'm just going into an historical perspective that
I hear you. Well,
it's been done before.
Yeah, you forgot to talk about in the Middle East, the Jews.
The Middle East.
Fighting. They'll be fighting forever.
Forever,
Yet they are cousins.
Because if we don't do anything now,
yeah.
If we don't, and I'm very serious, this has nothing to do with affiliation. If we don't do anything, it's going to get worse. If you look at 1979 till date, it's getting worse.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, again, a great question. I'm sure that if you were to put that question in ChatGPT, because we live in the age of
I'll attempt that.
And it's going to come up with a solution. It's going to tell you, here is my disclaimer. It's going to say, my disclaimer is, I don't know if what I'm suggesting to you is right.
That's what I did too. I said, I'm not trying to be the devil.
Yeah, that's what ChatGPT will also say. But I want you to test it out. See, the beauty of the scenario you just painted, whether it's India and Pakistan or Jews and Palestinians who were interestingly from the same parents. That's why I said they are cousins. I said the cousins jokingly, but in reality, they really are cousins. They are fighting each other because of land. And we see that every day. I think that a conference like the one that is being proposed, the good thing about it is if people are true to the framework of the conference, then they should confidently bring their issues and put them on the table. And if at the end of the deliberations, people decide, you know what, it's best to go separate ways, then at least there's an agreement. And it's no longer by crook or by nook or by force. At least we lay them down. It may very well be certain groups among the groups we say, no, I think we can work together, but we can't work with this person. It happens all the time, even in project teams. They say, yeah, we want this person to work with us, but the other person, because if this other person works with us, we're not going to get what we need out of the project. In human beings, the question of, we are ethnocentric, we are religious, all those there's nothing wrong with all of that, but we have to accept that is who we are. And once we can accept that this is what makes us who we are, then we can use that as a baseline. At least there's a baseline of understanding. We
have to accept that we are tribalistic in nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like we are.
I really, really love that. We
try to shy away from it, but every day the tea bites us. Shows us, so this type of conference allows us to look in the mirror and truly say, are we really a common people? Do we really want to live together as one people, or can we live, in separate regions and just trade and do other things together? Then we may find out that what is better is going to be less cost effective, or it's going to be more cost effective if we work together versus breaking up. Because you say, take the South, for example, who's going to be the governor, who's going to be the president, who's going to be all the mayors, and then another breakout. Then the judge will say, I don't think I can work with the Chekiris. But the Chekiris say, no, I can't deal with the Roboman. All these things will still come up.
It will come down.
Yeah, and so until we sit down and have an honest conversation amongst ourselves, we continue to chase shadows. So I think that a conference like that is useful. People will say there was one done in 2014. Well, if there was one that was done in 2014, I would think there's some good in it. Why don't we just start from there and see what was done? I think 2014, was the last time. That was the constitutional reform, I understand.
Under Jonathan.
Yes. So let's bring it up, see what the conclusions were. Maybe that's a good place to start. If not, put it aside and do something different. Even the one we say, the Constitution we say is not very good, we should also bring it to the table and say, what is wrong with it? Is it possible? Can we fix it? Can we remove some part and make the rest of the part work? Because, you and I mean, people are people. You give them, somebody might give us a textbook right now. We're going to come to different conclusions based on our reference points. And so the Constitution may not be working for somebody, but another person, it is perfectly fine. Maybe they don't refer to it. They just keep doing what they know to do. And in our type of environment, nobody seems to be challenging what is wrong with the Constitution, because everybody just, is it not the same Constitution that Obasanjo used? And it was the same Constitution that GEJ used. I mean, okay, so the American Constitution that we point to has been modified, rectified at least 24, 25 times. So what is wrong with saying, okay, this part doesn't work, let's remove it and replace it with something that works? And so we continue to evolve. But we're not even having that conversation. Because the powers that be, to use the word of my chairman, these are not really people who care about the rules of law. They talk it, but they don't really practice it.
Interesting. I was going to say that we've had a lot of conferences. When you talk about political conference, we've had it. Constitutional conference, we've had it. Economic conference, we've had it. Agricultural conference, we've had it. Scientific and technology conference, we've had it. We will have tons and tons and tons and tons of conferences. There are documents all over the place. I think the problem is actually implementation. Do you understand? And I'll agree with some of my past guests, who said that it is not the Constitution per se that is a problem. Yeah, that it's failure of leadership. That even the 99 Constitution is not as bad as they say it is. You understand? And if everybody is doing if the oversight function is being done properly, you don't use voice votes for state of emergency, for example. Do you understand? That will help, because it has nothing to do with whether you're against the president or for the president. You don't use voice votes for, and clearly oversight functions are not being practiced properly. So that's what I'm saying. That if there's a trickle-down effect, the 774 local government chairmen do what they have to do. The governors leave them alone. The governors are allowed to do their duties too. And yes, I think the only thing that needs tickling, that need to be dealt with, is the too much power that the president of Nigeria has. But then there are other arguments too, that maybe we should try a parliamentary system of government. So let me ask you that. Do you think the parliamentary system works for us? Those are supported say that it makes the prime minister closer to the people. You have to go to the parliament every week to explain yourself. Not that you just sit in Aso Rock and say, IG, arrest very dark man. IG, arrest very yellow woman. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm smiling because even when I was a child, I used to believe that uh, uh, what was his name? Chuba Okadigbo.
Yeah, Chuba, yeah.
Yeah,
When
some of us were growing up, when he came from America and was talking what the future could look like, we say, yeah, that's the kind of guy we want, to lead our country. And then he got in and he just blended with the rest of them. God bless his heart.
But we've seen diasporas too. Diasporas go home and they
Yes,
actually what's up,
yes,
yeah.
yes. God bless him. You can't say anything evil about the dead, they say. Now, diasporans, I had an encounter with a gentleman who, I'm not going to mention their name, was telling them that, first of all, I think that the breakdown of our senatorial districts contributes to the tribalism that we experience. This person is in the Senate, so obviously he was going to defend their position. I said, first of all, take a state like Edo State. You have 3 senatorial districts. And those senatorial districts are distributed across ethnic groups. See, that in itself doesn't augur well for the state. As a result, the senator from the South doesn't really care about what is going on in the North, but that should not be the case. He should know what is going on across the state, but more so across his senatorial district. In case the senator from the other state is, for whatever reason, they are not available. So the way that is broken down, that contributes to the tribalism that we are talking about. I mean, nobody says there's nothing wrong with tribalism per se. You see, it is a practice of nepotism that makes tribalism look bad. Because when you go, even today, we have good intent, we go and represent our constituency in the Senate. Your people will be the first people to tell you, Oga, we never see, what do they call it now? Dividends of democracy.
Yeah, cola, bring cola.
So if you serve your 4 years and you don't bring anything to them, they say you are a bad representative. Take, for example, the U.S. System that we copied, although we are not operating it just like the U.S. system. When they bring out their budget, when they put their budget forward, the senators and the Congress people, they put in, what they call the pork, P-O-R-K, to make the thing look so fat, right? Because they want their constituency to benefit from the budget. And when they do, their constituencies do benefit from the budget because that's what the role of the government, to provide for the people. But does it happen in Nigeria? So whether it's parliamentary or democratic policies like the American system, the dividends that are supposed to come to the constituencies are going into the pockets of the representatives. So they have it backwards, technically speaking. Now, which system is better? We came from the parliamentary system. That's where we were after independence. And then we say, let's try the American system. Well, we copied the American system with all its inherent expense, very expensive. We don't even truly understand how it functions. And that makes it very difficult for it's almost like we are wearing borrowed clothes. We don't even know how to wear them. And so we look ugly when we come out. When we come out in
when it upside down,
Yes. There's someone say, what is wrong with him?
Because even the American presidential system of government is not, I don't think it's this expensive,
It is very expensive. It is expensive. Oh, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, you see the movement of the American president, it's heavy. It's capital intensive.
Yes.
But they're a wealthy country.
Yes.
Technologically advanced, and that to a very good extent, there's transparency. You know how much, even if the president is going to play golf somewhere, you know the exact cost of that trip.
Yes.
You understand? If you're
Yes.
sick, you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So I think the transparency is the major issue there, compared to Nigeria.
It's a big issue. So essentially speaking, I think I'm of the school of thought that taking into account who we are as a people, very culturally oriented, very traditional in our way of doing things, are very religious and ethnic. We need to find a system that takes all of that into account. See, we are not yet.
You're picking everything from my mouth. That was going to be my next question. You must have answered that.
Okay.
Do we think to evolve a system that suits us, maybe not Africa, but us, Nigerians?
I think that has to be the goal. That has to be the goal. What did Covey say?
Do you have anything in mind? Do you have a system in mind?
I can't give it a name. I don't have a name for it. We should find a very sexy, attractive name, whether it's an Hausa-based name, whether it's one of the native names from somewhere. Let's call it that name. Very authentic, Nigerian. And we can go to a village somewhere that says, this is what this means. And we got it from these native people. Remember, we are native, we are traditional. No matter the influence we have accepted from the West, whether religiously or otherwise, we are a worshiper by nature. Africans are, and Nigerians indeed. We all are, whether we are Hausa or Yoruba or Igbo or Tiv or Igala or Ijaw, we have some certain names that resonate with us. So maybe we should find a name like that for the type of government that we are looking for. And then we can start to, once we agree on that name, we can start to build around it and say, this is what this means. And then we can work our way backwards, if you will. And by the time we know it, we will come out from that conference with a name of a practice that we all agreed with, that is not going to offend the Hausa man because it doesn't have Sharia laws in it. That is not going to offend the Christian because, see the beauty of the American system, they separated churches, separated religion from government. But it's only in our country, people go around, the governor will be talking about religion and pastor and all of that, yet they practice evil. I'm sorry. I mean, those two things don't work together. You cannot be saying, I'm a Christian, I worship God, and yet the evil you are perpetuating on your people is worse than what the devil will do to them. I mean, they have no security, you don't care. You are passing by, a lot of people are killed, they are laying by the roadside, you are blaring your siren, you're going to the airport. That doesn't work. That God does not function like
because it didn't get to that position with the votes of the people, so it's not obligated to them. That's
that may be true. That means the popular world. That's part of the corruption, right?
So this system you're talking about, can you give us some snippets of what it looks like, if you want? We won't, I'm sure my viewers won't mind.
If I tell you now, you won't invite me back.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let me ask you my last question. My press for time also, but I really always ask this. I mean, in lieu of what we see in Nigeria and all that, what's our worst case scenario? Now we have an election roughly 2 years from now. The electoral body is definitely not ready. Nobody trusts them. Our judiciary, I don't know what to call it again. It's derelict, totally derelict. You understand? The police, it's another failure. There's almost no institution of government that's functional. I mean, when I say functional, yes, people go to office, there are buildings, but what I mean is that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do, that is neutral, where it's supposed to be a neutral body, I mean, some will say it's not fair to call Nigeria a failed state, but when all the core institutions of government, when you look at the core pillars of what determines the failed state, health, education, security, blah, 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 nothing seems to be holding forth in the Nigerian stratosphere, so to say. So what do you think would be the worst case scenario for Nigeria? The conference, Chief Ayankwa are planning, they've done it in the past. People might not listen. What you're doing in your coalition, fantastic, brilliant. What if they don't listen? It happened in the past, people have come. So what's our worst case scenario,
Yeah. So well, thank you for that. So, well, we've done it in the past. People will say, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, wore it out. Yeah. In reality is, what are the circumstances today? Were they the same as then? That would be the question I would ask. What about the players? I made a note here when you were talking about, they say our problem is the leadership. The reality is the people are not bold enough to hold the leadership accountable.
No, they're not. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I sometimes say, well, we cannot be too hard on them because when we were there, we were like them. we were like them because, there's a lot of apathy. There's a lot of discouragement. There's a lot of cynicism. There's a lot of, you name it. It's almost like nobody will say anything, even if I say anything about them. However, and that is where the role of the diaspora becomes very critical. Because the diaspora has to be able to hold these people accountable.
Absolutely.
So that you can see that the emperor has no clothes. But until that starts to happen, they will continue to get away with all the wickedness that they are perpetrating on the people. Somebody has to hold them accountable. So the worst case scenario possibly can be Afghanistan was able to hold elections even in the midst of a civil war. I thought that was a very daring.
That's true. That's how Hamid Karzai became president.
Yes. That was a daring moment. The people said we are going to, even though there were bullets flying all over the place, they knew the meaning of democracy.
And he got a second term also.
He sure did.
Yeah, and there was a third election, the one that Abdullah lost.
Yes.
And I think Abdul Ghani became president. That's true.
There you go. So in our case right now, there's lack of security. But it's not I don't think it's as bad as what was going on in Afghanistan. Now, there is all kinds of corruption in our country. Can it be corrected? Yes, we think so. Because if people realize that when they steal, whether it's 1 billion or 1 million from the government purse, a lot of young people will not have education as a result of that. They will think twice about it. If they take their money, even though they have a shell account and put the money in a shell account, they think that nobody will see it. Somebody is losing a job as a result of that. Somebody is going to bed hungry as a result of that. So our people have to be held accountable. The worst case scenario is I really don't know what it looks like, but I don't know if it will be worse than what it is right now. I know there are people who have suggested, let's not hold any election in 2027. I don't know if that is going to be better, unless if you say don't hold elections because we have this other thing coming that we want to test out. If there is nothing to replace what we have now, I don't know how don't hold election makes sense, because again, to turn the place into a place of anarchy, probably worse than what it is right now. So I think there's a bit of time for the people to really decide that we want to become blah. What blah looks like, don't know. Maybe blah still looks like what it is right now, but with better rules in place, not just rules, but rules that are enforceable. Maybe a cleaner system than what we have right now, not the one that nobody trusts the judiciary. I mean, who can? I mean, that is the last hope for people, right? Yeah, the governor may not do the right thing, the assembly may not do the right thing, but at least if you go to court, you will get some good judgment. Maybe start from there. I mean, here you see what is happening. They will tell you can't even tell us anything to do. You have somebody with 34 felonies in the White House, but the reality is, at least you have courts that are holding him right now to not go overboard. Can we replicate that in Nigeria? So I don't know what 2027 will look like. I really don't, because there are so many hurdles along the way to 2027 that who knows if 2027 will come for many. But you're right.
I like that.
Yeah, but I think we should realize that we have a lot of people talk. We have resources. We have a lot. We have opportunities. Cannot get worse than it is now, and so we have to look at what can the next 12 months, the next 24 months look like. If we all decide that we are going to say, you know what, we have been blessed with so much. Let's acknowledge what we have been blessed with and see how we can make it better based on what we have been blessed with. Right now, we don't have a whole lot to show. You know? The oil industry by Dangote is beginning to produce, right? At least we're no longer hearing about long queues trying to get gasoline, right? That is a good thing. So can we acknowledge some of the other little good things that are coming about and see how we can build on those? Yes, conferences have been held many times over, but you talked about the fact that there were no implementation in place. Some people will say it's lack of political will. I don't think all of those are the main issues. I think that, well, then another part will be lack of character. I mean, we have seen IBB come out and confess, literally confess, what happened in his time, and yet nobody was held accountable. Nobody, no single person was held accountable. The place is still functioning. It's in a dysfunctioning but not functioning, right? Because if the president can spend billions on motorcade, and there are no good roads to drive those vehicles, they budget so much money to repair those vehicles because they don't have good roads. Does something not tell somebody that you need to have good roads so you don't have to spend so much money maintaining those cars, those vehicles? Reduce your fleet. A lot of these things are not rocket science. To save money and take care of the people you say you are.
Yeah, a good leader's lifestyle should reflect the mood of the country.
You see? You see? They used to talk about tightening the belt. They don't know anything about tightening the belt. They are loosening the belt every day. And borrowing as much money as they can to feed themselves, to have palaces, to live large. You know, they don't care about 2027. Why should we care?
Yeah, because whether we like it or not, INEC will do the bidding of the powers that be, you know.
No, I think we need to start calling INEC out. You see, INEC cannot continue to overpromise and underdeliver.
I agree with you.
They cannot do it.
I have to cut you there if we're pressed for time. I mean, you always live up to the billings. Thank you so much, Dr. Charles Orbih, erudite scholar, you know, electrical engineer, cybersecurity giant, project manager. He's as good as it gets, you know, the Nigerian brain. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it, but when they started the www.com back then, you know, Dr. Charles was one of the pioneers. They call people. Am I correct, sir?
Hey, you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine having this kind of people there doing extraordinary things. I mean, CV that I have, I probably just dealt with a paragraph. I'm sure if I go read everything, you'll all be surprised. But then, the truth of the matter is that we've had failure of leadership. And there's so many school of thought that says even we Nigerians might just be inherently dishonest. That's why Doc said that we have to first agree that we're tribalistic, we're religious-based, you know. Then we get to power, nepotism takes over everything. The nepotism should not be the crux of the matter when you're in governance, because we should be able to employ our best 11. I think one of the problems we've had is that we've never used our best for anything. You understand? And
because of who we are. Because
of who we are, yeah. Tribalistic.
Are you from the south or from the north? I mean, we're Nigerians.
Religious. Wow. So,
I mean, they don't do it in America, right? They will ask you your state, but at the end of the day, you are still an American, right?
Absolutely.
In Nigeria, that should be the case, whether you are from Abakaliki or you are from Boko.
Well, we had a bad foundation. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure
we can start to work towards correcting that.
Amen.
And that's hopefully NDCFC can start.
We're very excited about NDCFC, and I pray for success. We'll help and support in any way we can. At the end of the day, there's a success of Nigeria that matters most. Nigeria is too endowed, too talented to be where it is today. You know, it's just unbelievable that Nigeria could. I mean, I remember I think during Shagari, when they were talking about austerity measures, call mobile police, kill and go, and all those names, to some of us, even though we're young then, we're conscious enough to know that before Nigeria was all over, that it can't be this bad. Then
Yes.
Buhari came in, did his own thing, and it kept going on. Under Ambassador, there was some glimmer of hope, but Buhari just messed up everything completely. I mean, it's almost unforgivable, and
Nobody challenged him.
is there. Maybe it's too early to judge him, we'll say when he goes, but so far it's not looking good. I'm one of those that disappointed anyway. I mean, well, maybe expectation was too high or not existent, but it can be better than this, actually. It's not rocket science. Dr. Charles Orbih, thank you for coming to State of the Nation Atlantic Discuss. All our viewers, you've heard from the horse's mouth, and we'll have a role to play. Let's stop all this undue ethnicity and ethno-religious brigandage that's wrecking the country. Let us put square pegs in square holes. And irrespective of the constitution we operate, that will really help. If you're looking for a minister for agriculture, look for someone that can really do it. And we've so messed it up that we do it even in our soccer teams. We do it in our sport teams. Everything is tribal, religious, and it's a pity, but like Doc said, it is who we are, and it is what it is. So the ball is in our court. Everybody has a role to play. Thank you, Avia. See you next week.
I'm just going to say, accept us and come to ndcchange.org, ndcchange.org, and join us. Let's work together too.
Amen. Great. We'll put the details in the chat box. No problem. I promise you that.
Thank you.
To all our viewers in the 7 continents of the world, thank you so much for your loyalty. Keep subscribing. We love you always. Take care. Bye.